At first sight, the Danish appears to be rubbish, but thinking like that is actually being childish. I mean, I don't need to speak Spanish for you to understand how powerful the Danish can be. So I'm gonna show you how to punish everyone with this, regardless of their race or who they are. Could be the British, doesn't matter even if you don't speak English or even if you are Irish. I'm gonna teach you the Danish. Let's get started. The task is to sacrifice at least 2 pawns in the opening stage, but still go on to win the game. So the Danish is where white starts with e4, and then black responds with e5, quite alright. Then right away you go d4. After pawn takes, you give up another pawn, because you do not intend to take that pawn back after d takes c3. That's the idea, sacrificing 2 pawns for rapid development and achieving more open lines. If this happens, I recommend you go bishop c4. And the idea is to have your bishops arranged in this manner where they are pointing towards the king side. This is the power of the Danish, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a great way to understand why grandmasters say 2 bishops are better than bishop and knight. Those are like spears if you think about it. By the way, this is my 8th favorite gambit for blitz, and that's on the list for my top 10 favorite gambits for blitz in no particular order. At this point, you will see most of your opponents developing their knight to f6. But if that happens, you can simply go pawn to e5. Point is, if knight e4 is played, you have this cheap trick where you take on f7 first, and after king takes, you follow it up with either queen d5 check or queen f3 to win back a knight. And it can even be worse. I've seen people playing king g8 in this position, which leads to mate in 3. Can you spot it? Nope, I thought so. You just have to play queen b3, no need to take the knight. Right after d5, you check with ampersand. Nothing much black can do, only move bishop e6 and then queen takes e6, mate. Anyway, just wanted to show you one of those nasty traps. Instead of king g8, the best black can do here is to play king e8. And that's when you can just take the knight. Remember, black just lost their right to castle, so they will have to play the rest of the game with the king on the center. Anyway, knight c6, simple development. You have knight c3. This is one annoying move you should take advantage of in the Danish Gambit. Bishop b4, they pin your knight. Now you go knight e2. Remember, they can't castle short. They can play queen e7 if they want. But you see, position is too good that you can even castle long if you want from here. But anyway, just put your king to safety. They can't do the same. They moved their king once or twice, so they are not allowed to castle. Looks like black can take back on e5 like that. But oh, you know, after this simplification and knight b5, it is actually black was going to lose. There's nothing much they can do here. For example, if this, you can even take. So after pawn takes, you go knight g3. Look at these. Anyway, one famous trap that every chess player needs to know in the Danish is as follows. After e4, e5, d4, ed, c3, dc, bishop out, cb, and bishop out, you will see most of your opponents playing bishop b4 check. Yes, like that's the top played move in the Lichess database. You can check. Bishop b4 check is what most of your opponents are going to play, and now you can develop your knight to c3. And what do we see again? Knight f6 is the top played move. With knight f6, not only is black preparing to castle short, but also attacking your undefended pawn on e4. If you think about it, I mean, your knight is pinned. But you know what? After this, just play knight e2. And this looks like a free pawn on e4, which most of your amateur opponents are going to take. Guess what? You don't have to do anything. You just castle short. And this renews the threat to capture on e4. So they are going to take your knight as well. If that happens, just know you're going to win sooner than expected. Start with knight takes. And after castle short, you attack the dark squad bishop by playing knight d5 with your knight. What do we see in the Lichess database again? Bishop c5. Oh my God, people don't listen. Bishop c5 is the top played move, and yet the only losing move in this position. Why? What's wrong with this generation? Anyway, point is, you just want to surprise your opponents with the following sequence of moves, starting with knight f6 check. Why sacrificing a knight for free? The point is, if gf happens, now you have queen g4 check. Only move is king h8. After which, you play queen h4, double attacking the f6 pawn. You're going to take that with your dark squad bishop and win the queen, period. That's why most black players try to defend that with bishop e7. There's actually a mate in 3 in this position. Can you spot it? Nope, I thought so. Bishop d3 wins the game instantly. It wasn't about the f6 pawn, it was about the h7 pawn. Ladies and gentlemen, even if black plays pawn to h6, they can't stop this checkmate with their fingers. So that's one common trap you need to know in the Danish. Now you know that this is not rubbish. Anyway, after sacrificing your knight on f6 with check, if black doesn't take and let's say they just play king h8, miraculously, you have nothing left on earth other than taking on h7. This is a very brilliant move as you are attacking the rook. Oh, black can take that knight. Yes, but you have mate in 5 in this position, beginning with the move queen h5 check. On the move king g8, and guess what? Now you simply play this amazing queen g6 and there's absolutely nothing black can do to stop that checkmate. Nothing! Completely. I mean, even if black doesn't take the knight on h7, rumor has it we're still going to grab that rook for free. I mean, even if they play pawn to d5, you still go queen h5, king g8. Now bishop d3 is a problem. We won't even take the rook. If black tries to do this, you can just go knight g5 and look at this. Pap, just an example. Bishop e6, queen h7 check, king f8, queen takes check, king e7, and bishop f6 check to win the queen, among many other good things, obviously. Once again, never underestimate the power of the Danish, you jokers. e4, e5, d4, pawn takes, c3, dc, bishop c4, cb, bishop takes, bishop b4 check, knight c3, knight f6, and knight e2. What if black doesn't take the pawn on e4? Let's say they just castle short. Once again, just castle short. Remember, you're still down by 2 pawns, but your main argument is at least you are quick in development, so use that advantage wisely. Most people here play pawn to d6, after which you can simply go knight d5. Nothing wrong with that. Double attacking that knight, and if knight takes, you don't want to take back with your queen due to bishop e6 somehow, if you think about it. Even if you take on b7, they would take with tempo, taking everything that you have. So it is always wise to take with a bishop in this position so that if bishop e6 is played, you win the rook on a8. There's one move in this position that equalizes the game automatically according to Stockfish. If black plays pawn to c6, just know the game is back to equality. If anything, you have a nasty move in this position, which most people don't talk about, queen d4. As if you want to checkmate on g7, but the real thing is capturing the bishop. I've seen a lot of people here playing queen g5, which is okay. Now, guess what? You don't even need to take the dark squad bishop immediately, even though that's okay. You don't even need to take on f7 with check, getting back 1 pawn, even though that's fine. The move you can try in this position is pawn to f4. Just trying to see where that queen will go. Who knows, maybe black is going to play queen h4 so that you can checkmate them like that. The top played move is queen g6, after which you can get back 1 pawn, pap, and after rook takes, you take on b4, and still you have a lead in development. If you think about it, you are going to play f5. Black can't easily develop the last squad bishop due to that. If they play knight a6, attacking your queen, once again you just go back to d4, queen d4, c5, queen e3. There's no bishop e6, by the way, due to pawn to f5. So if bishop d7, you simply go pawn to f5, and that's where it begins to crumble down. Queen e6, asking for a queen trade. You can take, because this, I mean, is only favorable for white. And you play rook a d1. It's just a matter of time before getting back your pawn. And I mean, the whole idea of the Danish is quick development, you guys. So if your traps or your game plan fails to work, play active chess. By active chess, we mean be quick in development and your attack. Just as I said in the intro, this is my 8th favorite gambit for blitz, and that's on the list for my top 10 favorite gambits for blitz in no particular order. Before we proceed, I have some bad news for you guys. This will probably be your last time to hear my voice ever again if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel. By the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon, or simply buying my courses at www.KaspaChess.com or on my Patreon page. That really helps. But you see, not all of your opponents are going to entertain your eyeballs. I mean, taking all the pawns like that. Some people won't take your 3rd pawn or accepting your 2 pawns sacrifice. Instead, they will play something like knight c6 in this position, trying to call you a bluff. But if that happens, I propose you try this. this. Take back on c3 is not much of a stretch, so that if knight f6, when you develop your pieces normally as you do, knight f3, and after something like bishop b4, you simply go e5. This is a line, or rather the main line. Point is after knight e4, you have this nasty move queen d5, which wins a free piece on the spot. By the way, knight takes doesn't help due to mate in 1. That's what you were looking at. If bishop takes, you can just take back like that. Still, the knight is under attack and black can't save that. So this is the main line that you can try if, black doesn't take your third pawn. After knight c6, just take back on c3. And it doesn't even matter even if black starts with bishop b4 first. You just go knight f3 so that if knight f6 comes, you push pawn to e5. You know knight e4 is a blunder due to queen d5, which is why most black players here play pawn to d5. Now after that, you can just go ahead and take the knight. If they take your bishop to equalize the game, you just oversimplify things. If knight takes, you take on g7, attacking the rook. If rook g8, you hold on to your extra pawn, bishop h6, and from here you're just having a very comfortable game. Knight e6 has been tried in this position in an effort to try and win back that pawn, but here you can just castle long. If bishop takes, messing up your pawn structure, you just take back, and of course you're going to see knight takes g7. That's when you play rook he1 check. Question: who is ahead in development if you look at this position? That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes things won't go your way, but what matters the most is how quickly you are developing your pieces. So quick development is key in the Danish. In the middle game, we end up equalizing the game most of the times. Now before I conclude, let me show you one interesting game that was played between two strong chess players. Not only chess, this was an over-the-board game played in a real tournament, I guess in 1990, between the 2400 and the 2300. Akipov Sergey with white pieces started with e4, and then the black player Lazio, 2335 by rating, responded with e5, and d4 was played. Pawn takes, c3, dc. Then for some reason, I don't know why white didn't play bishop c4, they played knight takes c3, after which knight c6 was played. Now this is the main area of my interest, as it can happen even after you play bishop c4, then black doesn't take the third pawn. Like I said, they may play knight c6, after which you just need to take back on c3 like that. So we'll see that transposing back anyways. In this position, after pawn takes, the white player Sergey took back with a knight, and then black played knight c6, then bishop c4 was played. So you can see the game has transposed back to some kind of the Danish Gambit, accepted complicated variation. Now bishop b4 was played, and then knight f3, just as I showed you, knight f6, e5, and d5. In this position, Sergey took on f6, taking the knight, and black took on c4, taking the bishop, fg, and then rook g8, bishop h6, and pap, immediately taking the queen. Now, I want you to see how Sergey converted this game. Rook takes was played, then bishop f5, playing active chess. So black is also trying to develop their pieces as quickly as possible. In this position, castle shot was played, bishop d3 was played, attacking the rook, but that was a blunder. It looked like a normal move if you think about it, because black is trying to castle long, right? But after rook e1 check and king d7 trying to castle by hand, Sergey played knight g5, as if he was after the f7 pawn. Nevertheless, black continued with rook e8, trying to castle by hand, you can see, or something like that, after taking the rook on e1, but Sergey just went on to take. And the idea is, if black took with a rook, he was now going to take on h7. Since the bishop is pinned to the king, it can't take. And next, who knows, maybe queening like that, which is why in the game, black took back with the king on e8. And then white played knight d5, another sneaky move. Bishop e7 was played. In this position, guess the move that Sergey played to finish off the game in style. I give you 5 hours. Let's go. Okay, so the move in this position is knight takes h7, with the same idea of playing knight f6 and win the rook. In this position, black resigned. Why? Why not taking the knight for free? Well, because there's a checkmate in one. It wasn't about the knights or the f6 square. It was about knight takes c7 checkmate because of this rook. So all these are possibilities you may have when you play the Danish Gambit correctly. And I hope you guys learned 1 or 2 things and how to respond if things don't go your way in the Danish. Never should you underestimate the Danish or call it a rubbish gambit. Let me know what you think about the Danish in the comments section down below. Allow allow me to reintroduce this channel. Most of my viewers on my main channel, KaspaChess, are more interested to watch long form videos, and this is where this second channel comes in, where I post funny clips from my main channel and other interesting short form videos of chess traps that I can't post on my main channel. So be sure to subscribe to this channel as well. By the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon, or simply buying my courses at www.kaspachess.com or on my Patreon page. That really helps.